In this sub-lesson, we're going to talk about device sharing as it applies to printers. And we're going to talk about wired connections, including USB, serial, and Ethernet, wireless connections, including Bluetooth and 802.11x. And when I say 802.11x, I mean 802.11b, G, N, AC, and so on. And we'll also talk about the integrated print server and how all those work when it comes to sharing devices and allowing multiple computers to share the printer.
So it would be very costly to have a printer connected to every single computer. Now, in some companies and some departments, you do have that. It's necessary. But in most cases, computers will share one or more printers. So to do that, we have to configure device sharing. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about the types. Printer sharing can be done in a variety of ways. And the first is wired. We're talking about USB connections. The universal serial bus connection will normally be a type A connection out of the computer, your standard USB port, to a type B connection on the printer. That's very common, and that's a local connection to the computer. But you might also have print servers, which we'll talk about in a second, that have USB connections. Now, an older type of connection is serial. You're not going to see that as much anymore. The old serial and parallel connections, you probably won't use those ports. You probably don't have them on your computer. But if you have a connection like this, if you see a connection like this, the serial connects to a DB15F. And if you have a parallel connection, it could be either a 9-pin female or a 25-pin female. That's real old school stuff, but chances are you won't see that. Now, also, you have printers that can be connected directly to the network via Ethernet, and that's done with an RJ45 connection. And we'll show these connections on a printer in the last sub-lesson. That's for printers that have that capability. Some printers only have a USB connection. If you have, say, an inkjet printer for your home, it probably just has a USB connector, a type B. But if you have a printer that can be used in a mid-sized company or a large company, it'll most likely have an Ethernet connection, so you can control that printer over the network. So wired is the first way. Then you have wireless, and you can connect to a lot of printers today via Wi-Fi 802.11, either 802.11g or N or AC. And some printers are Bluetooth also, especially if you're working with mobile devices. You can connect to little handheld printers with the Bluetooth protocol. So wireless is another possibility. And then of that print server that we mentioned before, a print server is a little box that connects to your network, and then it has a USB connection for the printer to connect to. And this way you can control that printer over the network. That's a basic version of a print server. Then you get into more advanced print servers when you have actual server software that's controlling multiple servers, and the printers are either connected directly to that server or they're connected to the network. That gets more advanced. But your basic print server is a little device that connects to your network, Soho 4-port router or what have you, and it has that USB connection for the printer. Now, sometimes the 4-port router has a built-in print server, so it has that USB connection. Then there's over the cloud, and you might do your printing over the internet, and that's a new, with all the cloud-based technologies for data storage and for administration and virtualization, it makes sense that there's printing as well. And you might have your printers in another building, and so you could print through the cloud to get to them, or in another city, or you might be controlling your printers, which are local in your building, but controlling them from a print server, which is located on the cloud. So there's a lot of possibilities with that. And we're going to talk more about all the networking side of stuff in the next module. So we're going to kind of lay off that a little bit now, but you should know some of the ways that it can be done. Wired options like USB and Ethernet, wireless such as 802.11n or AC for your PCs and for your laptops, and possibly Bluetooth for your mobile devices. A print server that connects to the network or is built into your router, and over the cloud in a variety of ways. So let's demonstrate how to share a printer in Windows. That's what's really important. We'll go back to our devices and printers. First, the HP DeskJet D1500. You see this little icon here with 2 people. That means that it is shared. If it doesn't have that icon, like this printer here, then it is not shared. And by the way, the check mark means that that is the default printer that this computer will print to. So let's right-click on this HP DeskJet and take a look. To access the sharing portion of the printer properties, we go to Printer Properties and go to the Sharing tab. And you can see here it is checkmarked, Share this printer, and here's the share name. Now I'll tell you right now, that's not a very good share name. It's not a good idea to have spaces in any share names, and you don't want them to be too complex either. You know, who's going to remember, oh, I'm connecting to the HP DeskJet D1500 series with spaces. No, you're going to probably do it by the department. So for example, maybe the accounting group, which has 10 employees, is sharing this printer. They're all using it. We'll just call it accounting or accounting printer. So that's pretty easy to remember. And you see, you have an option here, render print jobs on client computers. What that means is the processing of the job happens at the local computer that's initiating the print job, instead of relying on the resources of the printer, which are usually pretty limited. So that's where you go for the sharing. Now, let's show a printer that is not shared yet. Again, that icon means sharing. This one is not shared. We'll right-click it, go to Printer Properties, go to Sharing, and we'll checkmark Share this printer. And you can see that I actually had this shared before as Marketing Printer 4. Maybe the marketing department has several printers, one for black and white documents, one for color documents, who knows. Backup printers in case one is really busy. We share it, we name it, and then we OK it. And that puts the little icon there. And you can see that it is now shared. In previous versions of Windows, you might have had a networking connection to show the sharing icon or something else, a hand or, you know, different items. But nowadays you see these 2 people, and that just means that it's a work group. Multiple people, multiple users can access this printer. Okay, finally, privacy can be an issue, and it must be considered as well. You always got to think about security. And remember, I said that that's one of the 6 facets of dealing with technology, security, very important. And what are we talking about here? Well, we're talking about 2 things. Who can access the printer, and where is the data stored? Where is the data from the print job stored? And is it removed? So let's go back to our devices and printers, and we'll use this guy. We'll use the HP LaserJet that we just shared. Right-click that guy and go to Printer Properties. Again, he is shared, so multiple people can connect to this printer. But to specify exactly who can connect, we go to the Security tab. And that's where we set our permissions. And again, this gets more into the 220-902 exam, and it gets further into technology. But you see a list of people that can connect here. And you'll notice that we have the Everyone group. That means everyone on the network can print to this printer. It's allowed. You might want to remove that. If we remove that guy, now only the people listed can connect. And you can add users individually. And you can click Advanced to search for those users, or you can type the name of the user. So this is where you would go to add or remove users that are allowed to connect. And then you can modify how they can access the printer. For example, this user account can print, can manage the printer, and manage documents. This person can do everything. And any other administrator on this computer can as well. So you may want to modify that. So that's where you go for the to help with permissions and to make sure that only the people you want can connect to that printer. Very important. The other thing was, where is the data stored? Well, we said before that the print jobs are rendered at the client computers. And one of the ways this is done is through spooling. If we go to the Advanced tab, you'll see that we have the spooling option turned on. And it says spool print documents so the program finishes printing faster and start printing immediately. So what happens is the job is processed or rendered at the local computer, and then sent over to the printer page by page. So you want to make sure that that information is removed from the local computer, first of all. And one of the best ways to do that is to set the system to clear temporary files, perhaps every 24 hours. And the same thing holds true for the printer. The printer itself, this guy holds a cache of jobs that were printed. And that's one of the common ways that people will go in and grab personal information, to grab it from the printer cache, from the printer memory. Because printers have RAM and they process the document before they print it. So you can set this on the OSD, on the on-screen display, to also delete the cache. And I would do that every, maybe every 12 hours or every 24 hours, or at a specific time, for example, at 5 p.m. when everybody's leaving. This way, anybody who comes in after hours, cleaning crew, or anybody who has access to the building or who knows what, if they tried to access the printer and grab the cache, grab the old files that are stored in RAM, then they're not going to be able to get them because they've been cleared out. So that's a little bit about the security there. So again, privacy can be an issue. You got to consider that with any device that you install, and make sure that you're securing it as far as the users that can connect and where that data is stored. Any cached or spooled data, you want to make sure that's removed.